Hello Infiniteers! Today I'm going to start showing you how to build the Sleepy Hollow Speedway, which you saw last time. This is a pretty easy racetrack to build, so it will only take a few episodes to cover that. My goal for this video is to lay the track and most of the terrain for the course. So the first thing we'll do is put down the sky changer, and we're going to use the sky for the Monsters University. I know I just finished my Monsters Inc. toy box and we used that same sky there, but this fits the theme of this toy box so well. Alright, and I'll delete that for now. We're going to need that eventually, but for the terrain theme, we're going to use the Dragon's Domain. I'll set that to be my theme. This works well for this toy box because I don't want anything bright green that's going to look too bright when we change the sky and the sun sets and then it gets cloudy. This is about the best terrain theme that I found that looks good in all of the 3 different sky domes that we're going to use. So I like that. Alright, so the next thing we want to do is look at the sky and find the sun. And that's over that direction, which means we want to begin the build over on this corner. And I want to put down this little helper block here, right on the corner of this terrain, again with the sun over that direction. And we're going to have the racetrack start going away from the sun. We go up to the racetrack pieces, and we'll put down the starting piece. That's going to go right on the edge of this terrain block, right up against that little helper block there. And then for the racetrack theme, we're going to use the X Games theme. This is the dirt track. It's a country road, kind of turn of the century, so you don't want to use anything too modern looking. Dirt track works well. Alright, so now we are set to begin our build. And I'm going to start again with the racetrack, and I'm going to put that down. And normally as I'm building the tracks, you've heard me kind of comment on the pieces that I'm using, and I'm not going to do that today. You can watch the video and just kind of see what I'm doing. And I thought what I would do instead is kind of give you a little commentary on the history of how this racetrack came to be. So I'll do that while I'm building, and you can just watch me build and do what I do. I get a lot of requests for new racetracks, and while I could design and build more of them, I don't want to build toy boxes that just keep doing the same things over and over again. I always want to do something unique and different in each toy box, and so I usually wait until I have an inspiration for a new track feature or a new idea, and then I try it out and see if I can get it to work. And if it does, then I pick a setting or a theme that fits the track and I go from there. And so inspiration doesn't strike all of the time, just once in a while, which is why I go for a while without building a new racetrack. Now in the case of this course, the main idea that drove my design was to have a course that changed on every lap. I wanted the course to evolve, and I wanted to have a series of events occur that told a story. I also knew I needed to do something this year for Halloween, but I didn't want to do the Halloween Town theme again because, to be honest, I think that's just been done to death. And I already did the Haunted Mansion from Disneyland, so I wanted to do something different this year. And I remembered the old Disney animated film from 1948 called The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. I had just watched part of that film earlier this year when I was working on Mr. Toad's Wild Ride for Disneyland, and I realized that the Sleepy Hollow setting from the second half of that film would work perfectly for a Halloween toy box. We even have the old covered bridge from that movie as a set piece. And so I went on YouTube to see if anybody else had made a Sleepy Hollow toy box before, because I figured they probably had, and I found one. And it actually looked really good. The builder had added some basic fetch quests, and they followed the plot of the movie pretty closely. It was a great toy box, but I don't want to just copy what they had done. So I was wondering, what could I do to make mine different? And I thought, well, what if I turned it into a racetrack? And I realized I had my story for my racetrack. And so as I started to think about the things that I could do as you race around the track, the events that occur and the way the track could change, I thought, well, the sun could set and then it could turn dark. I could have the weather change. I could do some weather effects. On the last lap, I could have the Headless Horseman show up and try to get you maybe once or twice. And I thought this would make for a pretty fun track. And so that's where my idea for this track came from. All right, and there is the basic racetrack. Now there's an elevation change out over this way. And we actually race above the track for a while. And so if we come out over here, this is the turn after that first split. We have this long track, and then we have this very long track. So right here at this seam is where we want to start our ramp. So I want to come down to the basic blocks, and we're going to put 2 blocks down here. Right on the corner of that very long piece, the first very long piece. Again, this is the long, this is the very long. And then we'll go back up to the racetrack pieces. And we're going to go to the ramps. We're going to use the bowed racetrack ramp, and we're going to set that right at the end of that block. And then you can take those out. And again, we're using the same trick that I had used back in episode 1 of this series. So if you're not familiar with that, you haven't seen what I'm doing, I would recommend going and watching me build the track for that first racetrack in that first episode, because I explain what I'm doing here. All right, so that takes us here, and this takes us right to the edge of the river. And then what we're going to do is pick up the Y and put that down, and we're going to raise this up to the same level as that track there and drop another one. Okay? And we're basically going to clone the track that's underneath. So you can just pick up the piece that's down below, put it back, raise it up, and connect it. And again, what's happening here, what I'm doing, is that the race cars, the AI cars, are going to follow the track that's on the bottom, because that's what's connected to the race course. That's what's connected to the racetrack start piece. But they're going to drive on the upper track. And so this lets us be able to create things like drops and jumps and all kinds of fun track features. And again, I explain how that works in the first episode. All right, so there we go. We're done with the racetrack. Now let's start putting down the terrain. So I want to come over here, and I don't think we can pick this up. Actually, it will let us pick it up. So we'll pick it up, put it down, don't move it. Leave that positioned where it is. And then we're going to put down the rest of the terrain. Let's start with the base here. I'm not sure how far I'll get with this today, but we'll go as far as we can. Okay, so what I have done is placed 12 blocks here. I have 11 actually, if you don't include the starting block. Okay, and then we're going to go this direction, go 2 more, And we're going to go a total of 4. All right, so that brings us back to our starting block. It's right there below where we're at now. All right, and then from here, go over 2 more blocks. And at this point, we're going to switch over to this long, flat terrain block. We're going to put these down like this. And then we're going to put another one out over here. This will kind of hide that terrain seam. Oops, not that one, this one. Actually, let's go ahead and I want to keep the orientation of the terrain, the texture there the same. Alright, so there is the base layer for the terrain. And the idea was to kind of hide the terrain seams as much as possible. So I have these on the outside. We're going to be covering up these with a fence later on. And then you get down here, and I want the terrain seam kind of hidden there, because here we're not going to have a fence. It's going to be a little bit more visible. And so we'll hide the terrain seam underneath here as we're driving above the terrain. All right, so there's the base layer. Now let's focus on the terrain over here. We'll start at this end with this raised section. And let's go back to this long flat block. And I could basically put this underneath here again and just kind of fill in underneath that track. The problem though with that, as I explained in episode 1, is that when you do that, you are blocking the racetrack down below. And so if something happens and the AI gets confused and it can't keep racing on this, it's going to default to the lower track and snap the car down to the lower track. Well, if you have that all covered with terrain, the AI car is going to be embedded in the terrain. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave a kind of a tunnel here that we can have the AI cars drive through as they go, if they get snapped to that bottom part of the terrain, so that they don't get hung up on that lower track if that happens. And believe it or not, that happens frequently. So the next piece, we're going to spin this same piece and put it here like that. We'll put this large piece here. Put a large piece out over here on that corner. That piece can go right there. And then we're going to fit some smaller pieces in around this. So like over here, I don't want that huge wide gap underneath there. So we'll kind of hide that, make the tunnel a little less obvious. Go to the next size larger here. We're going to come over to this corner. And come over to that point. Do the same thing on this side. Like that. And then the rest of it we will fill in with this piece, which will leave that gap underneath so that the cars can move freely through there. And we're going to put this down like this, just for this part here, because I want to plug that gap that's going to be there. The river is going to be sitting down at the level of that first terrain seam. If we don't put another block under there, it might be obvious that there's a gap there. There we go. So now we have kind of a tunnel of sorts that the AI cars can follow if they snap down there. By the way, sometimes, once in a great while, the player's car will snap down there too. So you want to make sure the player can get out of there and finish the race. All right, on this side, we're going to come over and we want our piece to line up with the edge of that track there, like you see. So I actually dropped this right exactly where it needed to drop. And we're going to put down a total of 4 of those. And then we'll come back over to this one. Like that. And drop another one. Another row of these taller blocks there, like that. And then this block can sit in here like that. Okay, so we now have a tunnel that goes almost all the way back here to this ramp. We're actually going to leave this all open underneath here too. So the AI cars, if something happens, they can get through. Now on this end, since the cars are going this way, I'm not worried about plugging the gap under there because the player's probably never going to see that. All right, next up, let's put in the canyon over here, I guess. And let me grab my screenshots here to make sure I get this correct, because this is where it starts to get a little bit tricky with the build. Trying to find... Oh, here we go. Okay, so we're going to start with this block here. And I want to cover that gap underneath the track on both sides of the track. So we don't want the player to see that. And from there, we're going to go down to the canyon pieces. And we'll start with this large and short canyon curve. We're going to drop this down right here on the edge and over 2 nudges. So when you're done, the correct placement of that should be off the edge of that and then 1 more block further over. That's where you place this. Okay, and then once you have that, then you can fill in the rest of the canyon as we go. And part of the reason for doing this is just so that we don't have to fill the entire toy box with trees. This saves us a little bit of memory, which is good. Now let's pick this piece up and put it back, which gets us to that part of the drawer, and I want to put down one of these. This is going to sit in here right on the edge of that, like you see there. Put this down temporarily, and then put another one down. And we'll take that middle piece out. That's going to be the tunnel for the train. And then this piece will line up with that one. We'll put another one over here. This also gives you, by the way, a little something different to look at besides just trees. All right, so then we have this, and actually that's the piece we want there. Let's take that piece back out. We kind of needed that to place this one properly. But now that we have it, we don't really need it. This is the piece we want. All right, and then just want to put a nice wall around the village here. 2 little spacers, and then a large. Sorry, I was consulting my screenshot to make sure I got this correct. And then we will take the large curve here again. Put that right up on the edge of that, like you see there. Followed by this little turn. And then another one of those long turns. And then a short canyon wall. Followed by this smaller one. We want to line that up like you see there. This one will line up like this. And actually I'm seeing just a slight problem here. All right, this needs to come out. 2 nudges. Because I missed a piece on this wall. Yeah. So you want to leave enough room on the side of the track for the player to get around that turn without having to follow this track too precisely. But you don't want to have it up too close to the track or too far away. All right, and we're going to put, oops, not that way. Gotta spin it around. I was looking at my screenshot, not looking at what I was doing. And that takes you right up to that wall. All right, so there is the inner canyon around the racetrack, which covers up a lot of space, a lot of ugliness back here. And because that means the player won't see all of that, we don't have to fill all that in with anything, which will save us memory. All right, so let's come over now, and I want to pick up this little short wall here again. And we're going to place it right on this terrain seam, right up against the edge of the terrain like that. So that straddles the terrain seam. And then we can put this piece in here like this. And back here, we're just going to place this somewhere back in here, really to just kind of cover up back there. We'll just put a couple of those down. The exact placement of those, it doesn't really matter. Try to put it about the middle of this block. We can adjust that a little bit later if we need to. And then we'll come over here and put down another one of these curves. Like so. We don't have to go all the way to the terrain because once we put the town in here, that's all going to be hidden back there. All right, so there's the outer part of the canyon turn on this end of the terrain. And now we're going to come over to this corner. How are we doing on time? Yeah, we're doing pretty good. We should be able to finish this off. All right. Once again, let's pick this piece up and put it back. I want to add a little spacer block in here. We're going to put that on the back corner of this, like you see there. And then to get back to the canyon pieces, we'll pick this piece up and put it down. Go over to the smallest one we have. Put that in there like that. Followed by the next size larger. Followed by the largest one. And then we'll put our huge turn in here. This one should be directly across from there if we've done it right. And it is. So then we're going to put one of these on here and basically mirror the tunnel system that we've got over there. So we'll put this down. We'll pick this piece up below and put it back, which gets us to this part of the drawer. And then once again, place this on the end here like this. Take that middle one out. Whoops, not that one. It's the next size smaller. Sorry. Like that. And then this one goes in here like so. And again, I'm not going to take that all the way to the edge of the terrain because we're going to cover that up with trees. All right, so there is the split coming through there. Now, if we go over to the left, we will find the tunnel pieces. We're going to use this mining tunnel piece. This is where the train is going to go after it crosses the road. And we'll take the rest of those on down. I'll show you how far to go in another video. Right now I just want to put those there to kind of finish that off. All right, on over on this side. Coming up on the half-hour mark here. Yeah, let me go ahead and finish off this terrain. I think that would be a good thing to do. Just need to put the hills up here and then we'll be finished. So I'm going to go a few minutes longer to get this done. Hope you don't mind. If you need to, you can always pause the video and come back later. All right, so this first little spacer block, I want to sit this right here like you see, followed by a terrain cube. Okay, and then we're going to scroll over to the right to the hill pieces, and it's not that one, it's this one, this corner hill, and we're going to sit this here just like you see there. We can go ahead and delete these little helper blocks. The sloping hill that goes with that is right here. We're going to put down 3 of those. Okay. And then let's pick up this piece here, which is that really thin piece. Because I don't have one of these blocks that's 2 cubes high. So we'll just kind of put this here and leave a gap under there. And we'll put those down like that. actually. Not quite what I needed. Didn't need two of those there. What I need is one of these. Followed by this corner slope. Followed by that. And then another inset. And we'll pick this up. Sorry about that, I was getting a little confused. Alright, and notice I put one underneath there because this is going to be visible from this side. Alright, and then we just fill in the slope along the edge there. Like that. And I've left enough space here for some trees. Okay, on the other side over here, and we're almost done, we need to fill in the hills around this side of the road. So once again, let me pick this piece up and get back to these little spacer blocks. This one, we're going to come over to the edge of the terrain over here. And we are going to put down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then come out and drop one more. And then we will pick up this corner, put it back, which gets us to that part of the drawer. And this needs to sit right out here on the corner of that block, like you see there. So it's going to hang off the edge of the terrain, but that's fine. The player's never going to see that. Then you can take all these little helper blocks out. And from here, we can build in the slope. So that will sit in there like that. Followed by the edge, followed by another corner slope. And then 2 of these sloping hills. And the corner hill. So you see we're just kind of building a little hilly canyon to go through there. That covers up some of the edge of the terrain there too, so we don't have to fill in all of this with trees, which again will help save memory. So this one sits in here, followed by the corner and another corner hill. And that one will sit out there like that. And then once again, we want to put some of these on the other side, mainly so if the player goes off the road and up the hill, they have somewhere to go. And you don't have to fill in all of this. That'll be sufficient because we're going to have some trees up on top of there. So the player's not going to get too far. We just don't want them to fall behind the slopes here. All right, and that is pretty much all of the terrain. There's a little bit more that we have left to do, but that frames in the track and the terrain pretty nicely. And I think that's a good stopping point for today. Next time I'll show you how to build the major landmarks on the course, like the town, the covered bridge, and the old Dutch cemetery. Until then, I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my video today, please hit the like button and leave a comment to let me know. I would also love to know if you're building this toy box along with me, or if you plan to. And of course, if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, and you like my Disney Infinity toy box designs, please click my photo in the lower right corner of this video, and that way you'll always know when I release a new video and what I'm currently working on. That's all for me today. See you next time.